Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here early. Let's just wait for a few more peeps. Well, actually, it's still early. It's 4:12, but we'll start as soon as there's enough folks online. Thank you, everyone. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Uh, Hope you're all feeling well this afternoon. Thank you for being on time. And so I'm kind of happy that a lot of you are right on the dot when it comes to class time. And hopefully, it's the same thing when we do face-to-face next week. So I'll be posting where our room will be next week. So with regards to face-to-face, we'll be doing our classes at the new atrium building. So just in case you guys haven't been informed yet, we will be at the atrium. That new building is, I forget the road name, but it's the street that directly leads to Hotel Benilde if you're coming from Quirino. So we'll be having our first, we'll be having our face-to-face classes at the atrium next week. And again, just in case you guys missed it last time, um, the way our schedule works, because we are required to have face-to-face classes, will be alternating weeks of online and then face-to-face classes. So this week it's online because it's the first week, and then we have face-to-face next week and then online again, and so on and so forth until the term ends. That also will change somewhat uh, in June. Well, hindi naman change, but I might miss a class with you guys sometime in June 7 or 8, I think, because I have to go to Bangkok. Pero yun lang, it's one class and I leave productive work with you guys. So before I start talking anymore, again, hopefully you guys are all feeling well. So good afternoon. I'll share something first. So to get everyone's thought processes jump started. And so this will just be a quick exercise. So we have a simple question here. What differentiates a project from operational work? So just to be clear, uh, operational work is if you're working, that's what you do day to day. Okay? So for me, for example, I was in the office earlier, so I did stuff that meant operational work. So how is my business as usual, yan, BAU din yung other term for it, different from a project. So look at the options, think about it, and then try to answer the question to the best of your idea. So don't worry, hindi naman to quiz. You can take a risk. So dun sa naunang matapang na tao, thank you for that. For the rest, you can take your time. Pero don't take too much time. We still have some stuff to go through. So again, you can go to menti.com, use the code 6366968 to join this one. So my tip always when it comes to stuff like this is read very carefully and try to understand if uh, what you're choosing is the most appropriate answer. So same thing din yan in case in the future you guys decide to take some certification exams. A lot of the certification exams are very tricky in the sense that the choices always seem to be all correct, which leaves you with, if you have a good understanding of what's being asked and the material, you should be able to figure out which among the choices is the best one. So it's the same thing here. They they look similar to each other, but only one of them is the most appropriate answer. So ano pa yung isang clue dyan? You try to remember the definition of a project in our first meeting. So right now, we have about 20 answers already. So that's almost near to the number of participants that's currently online. It tells me it's 23. So mga ganun to get yung max na number. All right, so I guess I can show the answer now. So again, yung question is, what are the components that differentiate a project from operational work? So it's a good thing that yung yung last choice, a unique goal and requirements for that goal was not picked. Yan. So bakit hindi yung last one? Because I also have goals for my daily work. Yan, like, may deadline din naman yung pag-submit ko ng budget, for example, or yung pag-process ng mga request ng employees. Those all have a goal and those have requirements. So definitely hindi yung last one. Yung first one, actually hindi rin siya because although it describes what a project is, kulang pa siya because that also can describe my normal everyday work, a unique goal, and dedicated resources. So that also describes a lot of the tasks that I do day to day in SMART. So dun sa mga two na sinagot yun, don't worry. Again, it's not a graded exam or anything. So that leaves us with the last two in the middle as the probable answers for the question. What are the components that differentiate a project from our operational work? And near the end of this, I said that one of the clues is try to remember what the definition of a project is. So I'll stop sharing this momentarily. I'll go back to that Mentimeter. I'll show you guys yung definition of a project as a refresher. And so does anyone want to volunteer to read out the definition of the project? Ayan ba? May gustong mag-volunteer? So just read it. Ayan, go ahead, Lance. Did you raise your hands?
What is a project? A project is a temporary endeavor that has a unique goal and usually a budget.
So Lance, thank you for volunteering. Ano yung main points na kailangan tandaan natin sa definition based off what you've read?
That has a unique goal and usually a budget.
Yan. So tama si Lance dun. Some of the things that we have to remember about a project is it has a unique goal and usually has a budget. And then there's one more thing that we have to remember. It's a temporary endeavor. So kaya siya project, it's because there's a finite time by which we do it. I have a project right now that's pegged from January 2023 to December 2023. Yan. So yun yung temporary na time ko to do it. I have to finish it by December 2023. As opposed to um, my regular work, which is to oversee training, and basically I have a projected number, be able to train 90% of the population by the end of the year. So that doesn't change from year to year. Hindi siya project kasi part yun ng trabaho na kailangan kong gawin regularly. But my project only spans from January 2023 to December 2023. So I'll go back to the Mentimeter. Oops. I will go back. And thank you again, Lance, for helping us out with that particular definition. So, given the definition again, a project is a temporary endeavor that has a unique goal and usually a budget. So, dun sa mga 6 na sinagot yung third choice, a unique goal, a temporary endeavor, and a budget, you can pat yourselves on the back up. I won't ask anymore sino yung 6 dyan. Okay. For the 16 who answered the second one, specific requirements, start and finish date, and management approval, medyo trap kasi yung choice na yun because it does cover most of what a project needs to become a project. Specific requirements, start and finish dates, and then yung coveted na management approval. Nothing or no project gets started kung walang management approval. Okay? But that describes items that go into actually going through with the project. Yan. So yan yung ano dun, different. So don't feel bad. It's fine. It was close to the actual definition of what a project is, which leads us to the components that differentiate a project from operational work. So any project always has a unique goal. Things like we need to improve the process by making it faster. We need to improve the process by making it more cost efficient. So those are unique goals. It's temporary because there's a start and end date. And then it usually has a budget. So yan talaga yung project. Again, that second choice seems near to the correct one. Okay, pero medyo ginambo lang ng konti. Yan. So again, for the 6 who got it, palakpakan po natin sila. Yan, I won't ask kung sino kayong amin. For the 16, don't feel too bad about it. And that definition, please do remember it. We will go back to it a few more times. With regards to our discussions in class. Yan. So, but for everyone, thank you for participating in this particular portion. All right, so we'll continue with our discussion. Some of you might be wondering, sir, wala bang activity na gagawin? Huwag kayong mag-alala. We'll do a lot of those in the face-to-face para mas kita ko kayong ginagawa yung activities itself. But I will be posting some activities in Big Sky too. Okay, pero hindi pa ngayon. Alright, so questions, anyone? Or clarifications? Or violent objections? Ba, may gusto kayong idagdag with regards to our discussion, feel free to do so. And if you're shy about speaking up, then you can type it in chat and I will try my best to keep track of any comments or questions dun sa chat natin. For those who weren't here last meeting, which was Tuesday, I've already posted the recording of the first session. So in case you haven't checked that out yet, it's in Big Sky already. Just go to the content section of our Big Sky page and then look for the section video recordings and you'll find our day 1 in that particular section of our class Big Sky page. And so we'll continue with going through the basics of what a project and project management means. The slideshow I'm using today, just like what I said last time, is also in Big Sky already. So for those who want to review it, you can find it there. And again, we're continuing this one. So last time we ended with the slide on organization, and it said that the organization structure of an organization affects um, how the project becomes successful or not. Yan. So org structure, in case you guys are part of a school organization, means merong hierarchy. Merong president or leader on top, and then sa ilalim niya ba may committee members. Then under the committee members, merong members. Merong normal members, which isn't very different from how it is in the office. Smart has a hierarchical structure. That means there's a person on top, and then going down, pababa ng pababa yung rank. So we have VPs, we have the board, and then vice presidents, and then senior managers, and so on and so forth. And until we get to the rank and file. So organizations has a big influence on how projects are performed, how much a project manager can do, and how easy it is to make projects successful. So one of the first things that a project manager must be familiar with is the structure of his or her own company. Cannot manage projects if you are not familiar with who are the bosses, who are the staff, and who has the power that can help you accomplish things. Organizations can be structured in several ways. There's the classic functional hierarchy based on functions, where each person reports to only one supervisor. There's also the matrix organization, where both functional managers and project managers get people reporting to them. Um, and then there's the projectized structure. So just to give you all uh, an overview of those structures, the classic functional one looks like this. So yan yung normal na org chart that most of you would have probably seen. Or kung hindi, especially for those who are going to start working on their thesis, might need to do an org chart for the client that you're uh, making a solution for. So in a functional hierarchy, projects aren't the priority, making it difficult for projects to succeed. So bakit hindi siya priority? Because the organization is structured to fulfill business needs. And most of the time, those different groups will tell you, busy kami para sa project na yan. So here, in this particular organizational structure, project managers have the least authority. Kasi yung mga tao, they report to a functional manager, typically in charge of things like the project budget. Resources are hard to come by because the people, yung resources, report to a functional manager and not to the project manager. Yan. And then even the project manager and other project management staff have to split their attention between the project and their regular work. So I actually have a real life example of that. Um, so Smart was doing a lot of process improvement projects in 2022. Um, it just like with a lot of projects, may branding siya. So the project itself was called Aurora, based on the lights in the North Pole. Para yun daw yung North Star namin. But anyway, so the big project was Aurora. And then underneath it, nag-form sila ng smaller teams from different parts of the organization. So si SMART is structured this way. After the president, merong mga iba-ibang groups. I was under human resources, which had a lot of different groups too. My particular group was learning and development. So we took care of training and the continuous improvement of the people in the organization. Um, so, so with that in mind, I was asked to help out with other teams in the new Aurora project. So, ano yung engagement ko? So, my boss tells me, Ronald, I lent you to the new project, si Aurora, and you'll be doing tasks for them. Ito yung project manager, si Kai, and you have to report to her too. Sabi, pero boss, paano yung regular work ko? Sabi niya, syempre, that takes priority, but Aurora is important, so you also have to find time to do that. So Aurora formed a couple of teams. So yung una dun are the work streams which concentrated on a particular process. Our work stream, which was work stream 7, was concentrating on getting efficiencies through cost savings. So things like paano nating mamamaximize yung kuryente so that we're not paying so much, ano yung mga pwedeng gawin, and stuff like that. So I was under Workstream 7, tapos Workstream 7 was further divided into smaller sub-teams called MBTs or mission-based teams. Yan. So in our functional environment hierarchy, hindi nawala yung position ko na part ako ng learning and development. So I'm a junior manager there. I have my role there, and I also have my role in the project. Yeah. So parang hiniram lang ako to do that project, and that's what happens in a functional organization. So the next one, to contrast with that, is the matrix structure. They're still pretty much functional hierarchies, but they can support projects better because normally in a matrix structure, the matrices overlap with each other. So here, the resources assigned report to both the project manager and their functional manager. Yan. In a good matrix, a strong one, the project manager and project admin staff work full-time on the projects. And then you have yung last one. Some organizations are projectized in their structure. And they're all about doing projects themselves. So at one point in time when I was with Accenture, actually, hindi ko na sure ngayon because I haven't been with Accenture in years. But when I was in Accenture, at least on the consulting side, this was our organization. Okay, so merong bench. Bench means wala ang project. So if you have no project, doon ka muna sa bench, which meant going to the Accenture office and then doing some other stuff. Okay, but the moment you're in a project, nandun ka na sa project na yun, most often than not, you'll be working at the client side. Bibigyan nila kayo ng space dun. And for as long as the project is alive, dun ka. So my own experience, of course, was I was part of a couple of projects, which meant that I spent a lot of my time outside of the actual Accenture office. And even worse, well, hindi naman worse, but I spent a lot of time in the US. Yan. So hindi ko na nakilala yung mga tao sa Pilipinas. 4 years sa Chicago. And so that was a projectized organization, at least as far as the consultants were concerned. So organization plays a major part in not just starting the project, but having the project become a success by the time of its deadline. So what we'll look at today, aside from that, is starting a project. So starting a project involves a lot of things. I'll go through the concepts. We'll have some activities on Tuesday with regards to this one. And you guys will see it when we meet face-to-face next week. So yung first consideration dyan is initiating a project. And the very first thing we have to remember is when a project is initiated, what you really want to do is get the commitment to move it forward. So project initiation, yung first step niya usually is there's a project manager. Will guide the project through the rest of the initiation process. The customer sponsor should also make an informed decision whether to approve the project. Yan. Bakit nakalagay customer or sponsor? We'll actually look at that in the next slide, but just to quickly mention it. Sometimes, especially in the office, when a project is undertaken, as mentioned last time, projects are normally started because there's a problem to be solved. So most of the time, the problem to be solved comes from the customers. So an example project from the time of the pandemic was, so dati, when we went to the office, may biometric na, na time-in machine. So naalam nila na pumasok ka, you just use your fingerprint. You press your thumb down so they know that you're in the office. Pero since nagka-COVID, hindi pwede yung ganun. You run the risk of catching viruses using yung biometric na technique. So there was a project to build an app so that people can log in and log out using yung app na yun. So sino yung customer dun? Yung main customer nun was HR because they needed some way to track people going in and out of the building. And then yung sponsor actually was IT kasi nasa kanila yung mga tao to make it happen. And that's what you want. You want an informed decision from the customer. Minsan end pa yan, end sponsor, so they can approve the project. When you initiate a project, it boils down to defining the project. You identify the problem, gather information, objectives, requirements, deliverables, and more. Once there's an initial project definition, then you prepare something called the project charter. Formally authorizing the project and describing the authority of the project manager. So yung umpisa niyan always begins with identifying the project stakeholders. So that's very important. And so very quickly, in chat lang, what do you guys think of when you hear the word stakeholders or stakeholder? So off the top of your head, what does it mean to call someone a stakeholder? And so si Kyle says owner of the company. Si Lauren says people who have shares. Justin says ownership. Matthew says investors. Nicole says investors. Jared says shareholders. Sige, tuloy pa. Anyone else? And for those who put in their thoughts, thank you very much, guys. Stan says client. Si Michael George, thank you. Whether you read my slides or you've been reading ahead, thank you very much for that. Then si Russell, influential to the company. So when we're looking at the question, what does a stakeholder mean? In different contexts, investors, shareholders, owners of the company, people who have shares are all correct to mention when stakeholder is mentioned. In the context of a project, stakeholders, and again, thank you to Michael George for putting in his thought, someone will benefit from the project. Yan. So sila yung stakeholders. So it says on the slide, you need to know who has a stake in the outcome of the project. So yun yung mas technical na version nun. someone who has a stake in the outcome of the project. They include the customer, the project sponsor, departments involved, and people who will work on the project tasks. Um, Major stakeholder roles include the project customer. So sila usually yung may problem. And then the next major role is project sponsor. So ano yung difference in the sponsor is someone who wants to see the project succeed and has enough authority to help make it a reality. Yung third na role is functional or aligned manager. Kasi sila yung in charge ng mga tao who actually work on the project. And then departments or people who affect the project. So thank you everyone for sharing your own thoughts. And again, at this point, uh, wala namang right or wrong. It's just that some of the answers are the more proper ones. So in this case, yung kay Michael George. Um, but thank you everyone. As a project manager, you need to know a lot about the stakeholders so that you can keep them happy. And the first step is knowing who they are. Identifying them doesn't stop there. It flows to the next one, which is analyzing your project stakeholders. Because first, it's hard to see sino ba talaga yung mga stakeholders. So there's something called the stakeholder analysis document. We'll take a look at it next week when we're face to face. So you need to know how your stakeholders are connected to the project and what motivates them. And then after that, determine who the stakeholder listens to, because that helps if you encounter any roadblocks to your project. Keeping stakeholders happy can be overwhelming and time consuming if you don't know what they want and how they're involved in your project. So that's why it's very important to analyze your project stakeholders. So yan yung unang-una, we have to know who we're doing this project for. Thank you again, guys. And so once we know who our stakeholders are, we want to identify the project goal. Project success all starts with finding out what the client or customer really wants. The goal is the end result that the project wants the customer to deliver. A goal is like a problem to solve or an opportunity to take advantage of, and will be the driver for everything that happens. And this is done by putting together a problem statement, clearly defining the problem or opportunity. Doesn't need to be a novel, hindi kailangan maging encyclopedia siya. Even better actually if you can fit your entire thought into one sentence. Developing a problem statement can be challenging because people often jump straight to the solutions. Solutions always describe the end result and not the initial motivation. Once you have your goal set, then you do your specific objectives. Objectives are basically more detailed goals. They help define the project scope and then the approach you choose, as well as the success criteria. So there are different types of goals. It might be a business objective, might be a financial objective, quality one, and so on and so forth. And yung last one being the technical objective. And so there's a lot of different types of objective that can be aligned to your project. When you're documenting objectives, you can just follow a couple of things. One, it's better to define clear objectives by using the SMART criteria. And so yung SMART, when it comes to not just projects, but whenever you have a goal or you're setting a goal, that's where the definition of SMART comes in handy. So hindi yan yung SMART na kumpanyang pinapatrabahuan ko, but it's a description of what makes a good measure. So SMART is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and then time-bound. And especially for those making or will start to make a thesis. Pag nilagay niyo yung objectives niyo, one way to make it better is to make use of the SMART criteria. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and then time-bound. Kaya nakalagay dyan, SMART. Once you've identified project goals and objectives, you can work with the appropriate stakeholder to do a benefit analysis. That's one way to validate if the company aligns with the organization's mission and strategy. Project objectives help us flesh out the project goal and define scope, approach, and success criteria. So once we have a goal and we have objectives, the next one is uh, gathering the requirements. So now that you have your goals, objectives, and strategy identified, it's time to describe specifically what the project must deliver. Getting the requirements right is very clear, very crucial. If you fail to identify the true requirements, the stakeholders most likely won't be satisfied with the results. And then if you include requirements that are necessary, the project will take longer and cost more. So once we have our requirements, then we also take a look at project assumptions and risk. During project initiation, we can make assumptions so that we can move on despite some limitations. When the project picture becomes clearer, you can revisit your assumptions and modify them if necessary. Risk, on the other hand, is a situation or event that might occur that could affect your project positively or negatively. So ano yung mga risk na yan? We live in a tropical country. We have a long rainy season, and if someone makes the mistake of building their house during the rainy season, then they risk whatever it is they're making, lalo na kung maging strong na typhoon. Yan. So assumptions and risks are manageable as long as you identify them upfront. And we'll also do an exercise with regards to this. I want you guys to get comfortable with the concepts. They are in big sky, so if you want to review later on, you can. You most likely will fill out a project scope statement. So project work is basically the apple on top um, of the work that you did during project definition. It looks at the boundaries of the project, what is in scope, and what also isn't included. It's important to get the project scope in writing. Otherwise, you might find yourself in scope creep. So ano to? If the project scope, if the project scope is not clearly identified, your client can abuse your position. So the other reason why project scope is very important is this allows you to remind stakeholders what they said yes to at the beginning of the project. So once you get into a lot of projects, you notice that the people in charge of the project or the people who play a particular role, um, hindi mo sila mahagila or hindi mo sila magamit. So you want project scope so that your client also cannot scam you for additional features na hindi naman kailangan. Scope also includes an out of scope section to show what the project doesn't include, and after that, you create a project charter. So once everything is done, we make a project charter. Again, we look at how this is done next week. What goes into a project charter, the name of the project, the purpose, a short summary of its goal and objectives, a high-level project description, including things like high-level success criteria, requirements, scope, risks, assumptions, and constraints. Schedule for milestones, cost estimate, and then list of stakeholders. Um, this may also include extra information like your name as a project manager, um, your responsibilities, a brief description of your work in the oceans, um, and a bunch of other items like that. And then finally, in the charter, you also get yung declaration from the sponsor and their support for the project. When the charter is ready to go, the project sponsor distributes to everyone affected or involved in the project. And once it's been authorized and everyone knows that you're the project manager, then you're ready to begin planning the project itself. So we went through a lot of things. Again, the PowerPoint is in Big Sky if you guys want to review it. Don't forget that when you're writing the goals of the project, uh, you want to make it smart. So in the chart, I put in chat, I put in yung meaning yung smart. It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Questions, comments, or clarification? Questions, comments, or clarifications? And thank you, guys. So what's very important? So very quickly lang, what's important when we want to initiate a project? So yan, off the top of your heads, or if you have the slide there, then that's easier. But uh, just try to remember what's very important about initiating a project. Malapit na, Kyle dun yung isang part. And si Lawrence also malapit na. So Kyle, you want to speak up? Go ahead.
No, sir. I put my answer na po in the chat box.
All right. Thank you. Yan. So malapit na yan. So when we're initiating a project, what's important? One, there's a commitment to move the project forward. Two, ayan nga, assign a project manager who will do the initiation. And then three, yung customer or sponsor has the ability to make an informed decision whether to approve the project or not. So those are the three main things that come into initiating a project. Yung pinaka-important dyan, and that's why I said, yung sabi ni Kyle is close to it, is it boils down to defining the project. So the project itself, yung scope comes after defining the project. And wait, I have one more question. When we mention project goal, what comes to mind? What do we mean when we mention project goal? So anyone? Go ahead, Kyle.
What we are trying to accomplish through completing the project.
Yan. Okay. So thank you for that, Kyle. Yung more exact, of course, is a goal is the problem that we want to solve. But saying that it's something that we want to accomplish is close enough. So throughout the term, and again, thank you, Kyle. I want everyone, hindi lang sila, Kyle, to occasionally speak up and try to digest the concepts that I'm presenting so that you can make it clearer in your head. So a lot of times we have an idea of what it means. We just don't know the exact terminologies that we need for a particular item. So again, thank you very much, especially to everyone who's been active in chat and to people like Lance and Kyle who speak up. Kyle, go ahead.
No sir, misclick lang po.
All right. So I want more people to do that even when we do yung face-to-face later on. Ano pa ba yung sasabihin ko? Yan. So one final call for any questions or clarifications. We've gone through a lot of things today. And we'll get to do more once we get to face-to-face. But I'll stop my discussion here right now. Similar to last time, once the video recording is ready, I'll try to upload it as soon as possible so that those who want to review it can take a look at it later on. For those who missed the first class, the video for that is already in big style. And with that being said, thank you everyone for being here. I am excited to see you all when we do face-to-face next week. And with that being said, that's it for today. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you all next week. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Have a nice
Thank you
day
po,
po.
sir.
Thank you po, sir.
Thank you po, sir.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you po.
Thank you sir, God bless po.
God bless.
Sir,
Yes, Ernst, go ahead.
question lang. Are all physical classes being taken in the atrium?
Yun yung alam ko. All IS subjects are now in the atrium.
Saan po ulit yung atrium? Kasi medyo nahilo ako.
Alam mo yung Hotel Benil?
Hotel Benilde yung nasa likod ng staff.
Yes. So, yung kalye that approaches Hotel Benilde sa likod, nandun yung atrium, sa gitna nun.
So like, if I'm going from behind, parang go right, nandyan yung Hotel Benilde. Tapos,
Ano ka, paikot ka. If you're coming from Benilde in a car, pupunta ka, kasi puro one way. So parang iikot ka, magle-left ka after SDA, dun sa kanto. And then nandun siya sa middle. I'll post a map din sa Big Sky so people can become more familiar.
pero medyo malapit lang po to sa main campus. Ay, di pala, sa TAF.
Ay, hindi. Malayo siya sa taas.
Ay,
Nandun
sige
siya sa kabilang side. I mean, nandun siya sa mga kalye before top. So, mga 3 to 4 blocks away pa siya.
Oh my gosh.
Or
Nakakahiya.
ayan, SDA na lang. If you're coming from SDA, di ba one way yun?
Opo,
One
sir.
way yung SDA. And then you get to yung main na kanto na pwede kang mag-right and pwede kang mag-left. Pa-left siya. Doon sa bagong basketball court, kung saan nag-PPE ngayon. Are you familiar with
I
that?
guess pasabi ko lang. Sige po, sir. Thank you.
Alright. Good luck.